As always, Pope Leo is accompanied by the Archbishop of Madrid, Cardinal José Cobo. Archbishop Cobo Cano, who will address the gathering and address the Pope, of course, before we listen to the speeches prepared by the other participants. Behind the seat prepared to seat the Pope, we see the logo of the Apostolic Journey. Raise your eyes, raise your gaze, it says in Spanish. Alzad la mirada. Look up to the heavens without ever losing touch with the ground, with the people around you, without ever losing awareness of what is going on, and working together to create a network of hope and solidarity. And that is what this event is called, weaving networks between important worlds such as those of culture, art, business, education, sport. One of the participants is an Olympionic sportsman. She's a badminton player from Spain. And as I was mentioning, you all know Antonio Banderas of Hollywood fame, and not only, one of the protagonists of Spanish film culture, one of Pedro Almodóvar's favorite actors. And here we see the presenters, the journalists. Carlos Franganillo and Lara Ciscar.
Por venir a España, Santo Padre, Cardenal Cobo, autoridades, amigas, amigos.
Lara Ciscar is thanking Pope Leo for being here, is thanking the Cardinal Archbishop of Madrid.
Este es sin duda uno de ellos. Madrid le recibe, Santo Padre, con gratitud, con alegría y con mucha ilusión, con esa ilusión que guarda.
She's expressing her hope that he will enjoy the evening, as all those who are participating are doing so with gratitude for his presence, with joy, with energy.
Más de 12.000 personas, segura todas ellas de distinta procedencia, de distintos rincones de España, de distintos rincones.
Carlos Franganillo presenting the event together with his journalist companion, is noting how these four worlds who come together on the stage tonight are not separate compartments of civil society, but they all work together to weave a network of common good, of hope, of solidarity, and of collaboration. So let's listen to the Archbishop of Madrid, Archbishop Cobo Cano.
Querido Santo Padre, queridos hermanos en el episcopado.
Dear Holy Father, dear brothers in the episcopate, distinguished authorities, friends from the worlds of culture, academia, business and society, dear people of Madrid. Like a great stained glass window, if we look only at each individual pane, we do not fully grasp the meaning of its colors or its beauty. But if we lift our gaze and see the whole, everything comes together and makes sense. Today we are like that immense stained glass window, illuminated by the light passing through it. Encouraged by your presence, your holiness, we lift our eyes beyond ourselves and seek to build a world that is better, more just, and more beautiful.
Nuestro tiempo presenta una grieta peligrosa.
Our age is marked by a dangerous fracture,
Frente a eso,
the loss of questions and of meaning. In the face of this, Your Holiness, we are called to seek answers together, to bring together the scattered fragments of reality, like pieces of that great stained glass window, in order to restore light to humanity. Ultimately, the true mission of the Church is to proclaim the joy of the Gospel and to bear witness to the conviction that this house is always open to everyone. The question then becomes concrete. What does it mean to lift our gaze toward the Gospel within your respective fields of activity? Through the Gospel and in the light of your encyclical, we will understand this more clearly. In the face of the crises and threats that undermine the civilization of human rights and democracy, we wish to be encouraged by you, Holy Father, so that we may continue learning how to be present, to serve, and to give praise to the Spirit of the Gospel. This gathering is one more step along that path. It's the fruit of many previous encounters in each of these fields. For months we've been preparing for it through meetings and dialogue across all sectors. These conversations, guided by your words, will continue, always keeping before us the dignity of every person, a justice that excludes no one, and a fraternity that perseveres. Here, Holy Father, your voice resounds like a clear and distinct note. Thank you for bringing together this diverse group of seekers. And to all of you who today have chosen to lift your gaze, thank you. Your step forward is a seed. The Church of Madrid welcomes it and nurtures it, so that this dialogue may become a lasting way of life, rather than a passing moment. Thank you for helping us lift our gaze and contemplate this evening that great stained glass window, illuminated by the light that the Holy Father brings to us.
Gracias, Cardenal Cobo. Muchísimas gracias por esa imagen de una sociedad vista.
For centuries, art has been one of the great meeting places between faith and society. Art has not only helped us to represent the world, it has also helped us to question it, to pause before the great realities that touch every human life: love, suffering, hope, and the meaning of who we are. And a few institutions have engaged in dialogue with art throughout history as profoundly as the Church.
Con su pasión, con su esperanza, con el sentido de lo que somos. Y pocas instituciones han dialogado tanto con el arte a lo largo de los siglos como la Iglesia.
Si la persona que va a subir ahora aquí
The person now joining us on stage knows well the power of stories and the value of shared emotion.
Y el valor enorme que tienen las emociones compartidas. Es un actor, es director, es
actor, director, producer, one of the most widely respected cultural voices in our country. Please welcome Antonio Banderas.
Santo Padre,
Holy Father, distinguished authorities, dear friends, there are encounters whose significance is measured not only by the time they last, but by what they mean. Your presence in Madrid today, Holy Father, is not merely a visit. It's a gesture of listening, of closeness, of dialogue with civil society, for which we are undoubtedly grateful. At times, that dialogue is best strengthened through a common language. That language is art, and throughout history, it has often served precisely this purpose. The relationship between the Catholic Church and art has not merely been fruitful, it has been decisive. We need not fear exaggeration in saying that the Church has been the greatest patron and producer of art in the history of humanity.
En el corazón de ese impulso
At the heart of this creative impulse stands the figure who transcends centuries, artistic styles and cultures, and who has undoubtedly been the most frequently represented figure in the history of art, Jesus Christ,
el gran protagonista de la película,
the great protagonist of the drama of life.
en todas
Across all the arts, Christ remains a constant presence,
de amor,
not as a repeated image, but as an icon of peace, love, and sacrifice,
mi intervención
surrounded by an inexhaustible mystery.
grandes artistas que con sus trabajos han engrandecido
I could limit my remarks to listing the great artists whose work has magnified the message flowing from the words of Jesus. I could also confine myself to presenting facts and figures illustrating the long journey shared by the Church, artists, intellectuals and philosophers. But today, Holy Father, I feel a certain obligation to offer a brief personal reflection drawn from my own experience. To do so, I must return to the Holy Week celebrations of my beloved Malaga in the 1960s.
esas manifestaciones populares,
Those popular manifestations that fill the streets
un ritual
with a majestic ritual of art and faith, roots and devotion,
y fue ahí, Santo Padre, en
a
ese
multicolored
marco de arte
prism of elegant beauty, a theatrical liturgy that each year transforms the city into a place where the artistic
una pregunta
and
que
spiritual
solo
become
tenía
one. It was there, Holy Father, amid that
Dios.
anonymous popular art, that a question was born within me when I was only 4 or 5 years old. A question consisting of a single word,
Ojos de mi madre,
God.
mientras ésta le clavaba su mirada
Little by little, I began to find answers. Some were as simple as those I discovered in my mother's eyes, as she fixed her gaze and her devoted heart upon the Virgin of Hope, as her throne passed before us in those distant years. Others came through the voices of the singers, whose saetas pierced the clear spring air. Still others came through the humble and good people of my city, who each year took to the streets carrying their neighborhoods with them, bearing the sacred images that helped them seek themselves even as they sought God. They did so by leaving behind the self in order to embrace the we. From the we, they moved to them, from them to all, from all to the world, from the world to the universe, and from the universe to God, before returning again to earth with the intuition that God may be present in every particle, in every molecule of every drop of water, every sea, every rose petal, every heartbeat, and every sigh. But art is not only beauty. Art is a question, it's a reflection, it's a contrast, it's a revolution. It's the tension between what we know and what we intuit. Art has been and must continue to be the mirror that reflects that lives that pass by the wounded neighbour without stopping. It's also the denunciation of empty creeds that have forgotten love. It is a voice of warning to societies that have grown accustomed to injustice. Art must be an alternative to violence, all forms of violence.
así. Así como lo hizo,
Just as Christ himself did, the artist must act courageously and must never abandon the role of being a critical voice towards society, toward art itself, and even toward religion itself. Holy Father, we share a common obligation. We are obliged to look, to see, and to seek to understand the complexities of the human soul. All human beings confront the great questions of our existence. Who are we? What meaning do life and suffering have? What does it truly mean to love our neighbour as ourselves? What lies beyond? And in that search, all of us draw near, perhaps without realizing it, to the transcendent, Holy Father. In a world that rushes forward, fragments itself, and at times oversimplifies reality, art helps us recover the depth and the soul that are in danger of being taken from us by artificial intelligences that must remain at the service of the human person and never the other way around. A soul that whispers to us that there is something more. The constant whisper of hope in that something more. This encounter between the Church and civil society is not merely timely, it's necessary. We need to continue creating and sharing. We need to continue asking questions. We need to continue seeking beauty, yes, but also truth. For wherever we dare to ask profound questions, a path always begins, a path that can lead us towards the spiritual, which is nothing other than the fraternity that beats within the heart of every human being and within the mysterious heart of God. You say that the times are bad. Be better yourselves, and the times will be better. You are the times, so said Saint Augustine. Holy Father, I am here because of Godspell. Godspell is a musical theatre work created in your homeland. The Spanish translation of Godspell is El Hecico de Dios, the spell of God. I stand before you today confessing that I too have been captivated by the spell of God. Thank you very much. This is a private exchange between Pope Leo XIV and Antonio Banderas. We see Pope Leo XIV has handed him what I assume is a rosary blessed by himself. And Banderas leaves the podium.
Muchas gracias, Antonio. Antonio Banderas nos recordaba.
You have reminded us, Antonio Banderas, that art is often born from a question, and perhaps every great human adventure begins in exactly the same way, with a question. Questions are important. Universities, classrooms, and research centers are places where curiosity becomes knowledge and where knowledge seeks to become service. Places where one learns not only a profession, but also how to look at the world. At a time marked by extraordinary technological advances and immense human challenges, education and research are called to do more than provide answers. They're called never to stop asking the important questions. We now welcome José María Coelho de Portugal, rector of the Complutense University of Madrid, representing Madrid's educational and scientific community.
Santidad.
Holy Father, I have the honor of representing at this gathering the entire educational community of Madrid, encompassing all levels of education. First and foremost, we wish to thank you, Holy Father, for devoting part of your time during this visit to our country to the cause of education. Those of us who belong to this academic community, believers and non-believers alike, have together with the Archdiocese of Madrid engaged in a fruitful series of meetings on the social mission of academia as a sphere of society in which everyone should be able to recognize themselves and feel included.
Entre creyentes y no creyentes, donde hemos hablado acerca de la función social de la academia y de la educación. Sobre la academia santidad entendemos todos entendemos que debe ser un espacio social de convergencia.
A space for convergence, a social space in which everyone must be represented. Education is an irreplaceable instrument of social justice through which equality of opportunity enables every young person to develop his or her abilities in a harmonious way. It's a fundamental human right. A right. It's a right that must also encompass adult education, which is becoming increasingly important if we are to avoid the emergency of generational divides in areas of growing relevance for social inclusion, such as digital literacy. It is citizens who sustain the academic community and at the same time who benefit from its fruits. For this reason, we need society's commitment to educational and research activities. Only in this way we can fulfill our mission and repay society's investment by forming free citizens, adequately prepared in every field of knowledge, bearers of ethical values, and inspired by a spirit of service to the community. Your Holiness, Madrid, Spain, and particularly the Autonomous Community of Madrid, is today one of Europe's greatest university centres. It's a vibrant and dynamic educational environment at the forefront of science, technology, and international prestige, where some of Europe's oldest and most distinguished public universities coexist alongside pontifical and ecclesiastical institutions of great tradition, together with a great variety of socially inspired universities renowned for their academic excellence. These institutions educate tens and thousands of Spanish and international students from around the world, especially from the sister nations of the Ibero-American community.
Necesitamos santidad, universidades.
We are convinced that we need universities that respect diversity, but also truth. Institutions that stand at the forefront of knowledge while fully respecting the ethical principles of research. Centres that are academically excellent, yet socially inclusive. Environments in which a culture of effort and healthy competition is fostered, always underpinned by complete respect for the dignity of every human person.
Santidad, hemos recibido
The academic world received with great joy Your Holiness's recent decision to proclaim for the first time in history a university professor, Doctor of the Church, in the person of John Henry Newman.
Y junto con este agradecimiento.
Today, the dialogue between faith and reason is as necessary as it was in Newman's time. As educators and researchers, we look to Your Holiness as one of the indisputable moral voices of our age, as a guardian of peace and truth, as a defender of the poor and forgotten of the world, and as the vicar of Christ. In that spirit, we wish to present to Your Holiness several challenges that we face within academia.
Queremos santidad desde la academia, plantearle algunos de los retos, algunos desafíos que tenemos por delante y que nos inquietan. El primero de ellos.
The first is this: how can education continue to building a peaceful society and fostering a culture of coexistence at a time when harmony is so often threatened by an unproductive climate of confrontation, that at times permeates our 21st century societies. The second question concerns how education and research can provide leadership in addressing the scientific and technological transformations that characterize the technological revolution in which we are immersed. Thank you, Holy Father, on behalf of the entire educational community. May Our Lady of Almudena, patron of Madrid, accompany you on your journey and bless you today and always.
Trasladado aquí. Estamos en el centro de este Movistar Arena. Estamos en el
We're
centro
back on the floor with Lara.
Nos hemos reunido hoy aquí ante la profunda llamada del Papa a la sociedad civil.
We are gathered here
Acabamos de escuchar al representante del sector educativo, José María Cuello de Portugal,
in the prospects of the Pope and of representatives of so many sectors of civil society.
Acumular, sino es entender el mundo, comprenderlo, aportar.
You have reminded us that education is not merely about transmitting knowledge, but also about forming people capable of thinking, understanding, caring for the world they inherit. There is something beautiful in what we have just heard. The search for truth belongs not only to classrooms and laboratories. As we have seen throughout this afternoon, we also encounter it through other languages, in music, in art, in movement, in forms of expression that, without words, communicate something profoundly human. Some artists transform their discipline into a voice of their own. They make the stage a place where strength and vulnerability, roots and freedom coexist.
Magnífica humanidad, donde se plantea pues ese enorme reto, la necesidad de desarmar de alguna manera, quitarle fuerza.
Recalling the recently published encyclical by Pope Leo XIV, Magnifica Humanitas, which deals with the importance of safeguarding humanity in a rapidly changing world with artificial intelligence at its center, and how the need is for us to shape artificial intelligence and not the other way around.
El riesgo de que los seres humanos, las personas, nos convirtamos en
importance of preserving the human voices and faces of humanity as AI transforms the world and shapes the world at an alarmingly fast pace.
Humanos frente a las máquinas, frente a la inteligencia artificial. Él hablaba desde el punto de vista del artista, desde el punto de vista de la cultura, mensajes muy potentes y expresiones de profundidad.
That is also the huge contribution that the power of art has to bring to humanity. Art is synonymous of reflection and of making us ask the important questions that keep humanity at the center of society, of life, of love, of solidarity.
Poliedro, utilizaba esa palabra, poliedro, formado pues por la liturgia, por la diversidad humana.
The journalist is recalling the words of Antonio Banderas, who was speaking of culture as a multifaceted prism of many colors.
Vamos a tener una figura que conoce bien ese lenguaje, que conoce la manera de expresar ideas muy profundas a través del arte, a través de la danza.
And now we are about to present a protagonist of the world of art, one of the most famous flamenco dancers of the world, Sara Barras. Sara Barras, who is a world-famous Spanish flamenco dancer and choreographer who has established her own dance company, is bringing a performance to the stage now. On stage with the flamenco group is the group of musicians, singers, musicians and dancers in what is about to become one of Spain's proudest heritages and traditions. Let's enjoy. And we've been watching Sara Barras and her dance company, including her singers, her musicians, and the amazing power of dance, of the beauty of dance that brings together technical precision, discipline, movement, harmony, beauty, with no need for words. Perhaps the most ancient of arts, in which men and women of all centuries and times have found ways to communicate their passion through their bodies, their voices, their sounds. And the Spanish are rightly very proud of their incredible tradition of flamenco dance, flamenco music, flamenco singing, which came together today on this stage for Pope Leo XIV, who is thanking the dancers, all the members of the company. Just remembering that Sara Barras is a well-known flamenco artist who's participated in many events, many performances, even films.
Fantástica de Sara Barras y de todo el equipo, expresando cosas con enorme potencia, con muchísima pasión, que a veces es difícil expresar.
The expression of power and passion
de la música, y lo han hecho en equipo también. Veíamos a ese numeroso equipo que rodea a Sara Barras, porque es difícil en la vida crear cosas grandes, cosas de envergadura por uno mismo o uno solo, ¿no?
Carlos is commenting on how much work and effort and discipline goes into putting together a company in which everyone works together to create a choreography, a final choreography.
Lo hemos aprendido también de las conversaciones que hemos tenido en este acto, cuando empezábamos, cuando estábamos esperando al Santo Padre. Hablábamos con, bueno, yo creo que eran ejemplos verdaderos de lo que es mejorar el mundo, ayudar al otro y hacerlo de manera conjunta. De hecho, algunos de los
pueden dar
de lo importante que han sido esas
sector of society, of civil society,
podemos recordar, por ejemplo, a Lucila
aims to better society, to improve the livelihood and the lives of all of its members.
En un país, en una nación, pero siempre no dejando a nadie atrás. Hablábamos también con Pedro Villa, que nos explicaba cómo el teatro que podemos encontrar en cada uno de los barrios de esta ciudad y de casi todas las ciudades siguen siendo ese espacio común para que las personas se reúnan
common space in which all members of society have their space.
Seminarista que nos explicaba cómo él había hecho frente a sus dudas, a la pregunta, a la búsqueda del camino, cómo lo había encontrado y cómo utilizaba esa otra expresión, la música, la guitarra flamenca.
Sí, son historias que componen una ciudad del alma y todas esas redes que se pueden tejer. También quienes cuidan. Escuchábamos, Santo Padre, antes de su llegada, a Carmen Molina, del Hospital Niño Jesús, hospital pediátrico, que trabaja en la unidad de cuidados paliativos.
Now the presenters are recalling many figures of society that contribute to the well-being of the common good, and they of course include art and artists such as Antonio Banderas, such as Sara Barras, but also doctors, people who are engaged in medical research, in furthering education, in integrating people from all walks of life. And now we move on to the business and economy segment.
También hay retos, algún que otro fracaso.
Sí, ahí en una sociedad como la actual estamos enfrentados a
In a
enormes
society like ours,
retos
which
sociales.
is
Hay una demanda y que
marked
no
by
se puede
major technological and social transformations, the question is no longer simply how we grow, it's also for whom do we grow, how do we wish to do so, how do we place innovation at the service of human dignity. So we welcome representatives of business community in the person of Antonio Garamendi, President of CEOE, Unai Sordo, General Secretary of Comisiones Obreras, and Ángela López de Miguel, President of CEPYME. Key protagonists, all of them, in building a more just and more humane society. And now we are about to listen to the joint testimony of Antonio Garamendi, Unai Sordo, Pepe Alvarez, and Ángela López de Miguel. It is a source of great joy, Holy Father, for Spanish businesses to share this dialogue on business, work, and the future together with the trade union organizations and Your Holiness. Businesses and workers cooperate every day. We do so by creating employment, generating opportunities, and building shared prosperity for millions of people. A company is far more than an economic structure. It's the place where entrepreneurship flourishes, investment is made, innovation is fostered, and the economy grows. Above all, companies are human. Communities in which people develop their talents and through their efforts build their life projects. Those same people are the driving force behind our country's competitiveness. Competitiveness is not built solely through technology, investment, or strategy. It's consolidated through trust, commitment, and the capacity to work together towards shared goals for the benefit of all. From this understanding of the company, we must address what is undoubtedly a genuine change of era, technological transformation. Artificial intelligence and global competition are redefining the ways in which we produce, work, and relate to one another. For this reason, we need to strengthen a vision of business that is both transformative and profoundly humanistic, a vision that recognizes work as the highest expression of human dignity, integral development, and contribution to the common good. This reflection is important when we think of young people. They embody talent, energy, and the capacity to build the future. Businesses wish to continue offering spaces where new generations can find trust, opportunity, and hope. These goals are achieved when commitment, effort, and purpose are united. This is why preserving social dialogue and collective bargaining is so important. They are not merely tools for resolving differences. They are spaces of agreement, stability, and shared construction that contribute to social peace. They form a quiet but essential infrastructure that ensures businesses can be places of economic prosperity, social well-being, and personal fulfillment. I'm convinced that the strongest societies are those capable of building lasting agreements and advancing together in the face of great challenges. Holy Father, this is why we are here today. Because we share a common conviction that the future can only be built by combining our abilities, sharing our goals, and always placing the human person at the center of progress. This is the new social contract. This is the commitment of Spanish businesses.
Santo Padre, por eso estamos hoy aquí, porque compartimos una misma convicción,
The future can only be built by combining our abilities, sharing our goals, placing the human person at the center of progress. This is the new social contract. This is the commitment of Spanish businesses. Been listening there to Antonio Garamendi. And now we listen to Unai Sordo, who is here to talk about the challenge of artificial intelligence and education. We are here because we feel challenged by the transformations of a labour market that is changing, uncertain and difficult to define. We firmly believe that these transformations cannot reduce work to just another productive input. Work concerns the dignity of the person and the social construction of human life. For this reason, the regulation of labour requires democratic social actors and institutions, such as the social dialogue developed in Spain. We're not speaking merely about economics, but about society, relationships, and community. Every transformation brings challenges. Access to knowledge is essential if those challenges are to be met. Just transitions in employment require that education and the acquisition of skills reach all workers, especially those who are most vulnerable and most exposed to change. We refuse to resign ourselves to a world defined by the struggle of the last against the second to last, by the Cain-like metaphor of the lifeboat, by the moral nihilism of the isolated individual concerned only with the here and now. Nor do we wish to retreat into ivory towers among those who are identical to ourselves, detached from a world perceived as foreign and populated by strangers. Indeed, we aspire to renew the social contract for the 21st century, reviving the noblest dimension of the social state, solidarity among people who may never know one another personally, while expanding the space of human affection and social bonds.
Trascendencia sobre el por qué estamos aquí, por quienes nos precedieron y quienes quedarán en un planeta que tiene que ser
Trade unionism, grounded in the daily experience of the world of work, seeks to promote universal principles, a sense of transcendence regarding why we are here, those who came before us and those who will come after us, on a planet that must remain habitable and shared social purposes capable of creating societies that are more just, more dignified, and in the truest sense of the word, better. Now we listen to Pepe Alvarez. Social dialogue is an essential democratic instrument for constructing a framework that goes beyond the mere technical regulation of artificial intelligence and lays the foundations for a new social contract centered on human dignity, social justice, and decent work. Through social dialogue, artificial intelligence ceases to be a tool for replacing workers and becomes a collective project founded on shared values. Transparency and algorithm, a commitment to just transition and respect for the dignity of working people. Artificial intelligence can be a powerful instrument for increasing productivity, reducing working time and improving the quality of life of workers. Yet these benefits are not automatic. They depend on how technology is designed, regulated, and how its impact is distributed. A just transition to digitalization, negotiated with the social partners, enables workers to focus on higher value tasks that are more creative and innovative, while fostering more inclusive economies and happier societies. The new social contract requires that this path of progress be pursued with equity and justice, helping to combat inequality and generate greater well-being and social cohesion.
La creatividad, la innovación, el cuidado de los demás. Por eso queremos hablar de un nuevo contrato social.
We are asking for a new social
El
contract.
progreso tecnológico se construye desde la equidad y la justicia, que genere bienestar y cohesión, no fragmentación y miedo. El futuro no está escrito.
The future is not yet
Y
written.
esa negociación empieza aquí y ahora. Gracias, Santo Padre,
Thank you, Holy Father,
por su valentía, por dar voz a los que no tienen voz, por esa visión humana que tiene del planeta.
for keeping humans at the center of life on this planet. Finally, we're listening to Angela Lopez de Miguel. Holy Father, I conclude with a firm conviction: the more technology we possess, the more humanity we will need. The company of the future cannot be sustained by data and predictions alone. It will require trust, meaning, and genuine human relationships. We must also educate business leaders, professionals, employer representatives, and trade union leaders with a humanistic vision, one that places technology at the service of people. We know that social dialogue is a valuable instrument for building balanced solutions, adapted to the realities of each company, each sector, and each territory. This is especially important in a country such as ours, whose productive fabric is largely composed of small and medium-sized enterprises and self-employed workers. It is there that sustainable growth is built, when businesses and workers advance together. The common good is our compass. It leads us to lift up our gaze towards the values of truth, freedom, justice, and love, so as to humanize technology and build a civilization founded on work. This is the new social contract. Thank you, Holy Father. And Pope Leo takes time to greet each of the representatives, in this case, of the world of business and economy, with much of their concern focused on the emergence of artificial intelligence, a theme close to Pope Leo's heart, as demonstrated by his recently released encyclical Magnifica Humanitas.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Gracias a los cuatro por esos discursos, por esas palabras importantes desde perspectiva.
Thank you for those reflections that touch upon one of the greatest questions of our time: how to move forward without leaving anyone behind, how to ensure that progress has a human face, how to make technology, innovation and growth remain at the service of people. This requires trust, shared effort, and the ability to walk together. There is one place where these values are learned very early in life, and we are speaking of sport.
Tenemos hoy a dos mujeres extraordinarias, grandes campeonas. Está con nosotros
Teresa Perales is one of the most decorated Paralympians in history, a symbol of perseverance, inclusion, and an inspiring voice both within and beyond the world of sport.
Una de las deportistas paralímpicas más laureadas de nuestra historia, un ejemplo de perseverancia, de inclusión, un ejemplo dentro y fuera del deporte. Vamos a escucharlas ya. Carolina, Teresa.
Bienvenidas.
Bienvenidas.
Carolina, Marin, Olympic badminton player, and Teresa Perales, a Paralympian champion. Holy Father, it's a great honor for Carolina and for me, representing so many athletes, to be with you today in this setting where culture, art, business and sport come together. In your recent letter, Life in Abundance, you remind us that the practice of sport is not merely a mass spectacle, but a common activity that is beneficial for both body and spirit, and an expression of what unites us as human beings. Indeed, Your Holiness, says Carolina Maren, sport, when lived with integrity, is a true school of life. Today, we find ourselves in a world obsessed with performance and success at any cost, where it can sometimes seem that the only things that matter are making money or breaking records. In the face of that pressure, we athletes wish to uphold the pure joy of playing for the sake of playing, the enthusiasm we knew as children. Which reminds us that the most important thing on any field, court or track, must also always be the human person. To keep that spirit alive, the first pillar is resilience in the face of adversity. In the swimming pool, as in life itself, there are difficult days when the water feels heavy, injuries are painful, or the body simply does not respond as we would wish. You have reminded us that falling is not the end of the journey. Accepting our fragility in our difficult moments does not make us weak. It makes us human. The true victory is not to be invincible, but to learn how to rise again with the help of others. That resilience is complemented by self-discipline, that quiet effort of training every day when no one is watching. But discipline also requires respect. The rules of the game are not limitations, they are the lines that make it possible for us to meet one another fairly in competition. Within those rules, competing does not mean destroying one's opponent. An opponent is not an enemy. He or she is an indispensable companion on the journey who, by giving their very best, challenges us to give our very best as well. Competition means growing with the other, never against the other. For that reason, sport also demands humility and success. When one reaches the highest step of the podium, it's very easy to fall into self-centeredness and forget that no one arrives there alone. Humility teaches us to look our opponents in the eye with gratitude, recognizing that their effort also gives value to our own victories. Holy Father, thank you for reminding us, through your example, that sport is a bridge of solidarity, inclusion and peace. Today, we commit ourselves to continuing to play the game of life with loyalty and integrity, and to carrying these values beyond the playing field. Thank you, Your Holiness. May you continue to play the game of life well. Pope Leo steps down to personally greet the two athletes who have brought their testimonies of fair competitiveness and their gratitude to Pope Leo for having so often upheld sports as an arena in which teamwork, companionship, respect can make the difference and do make the difference. And here we see Carolina giving the Pope her badminton racket. She was an Olympian badminton player.
Bueno, Teresa, Carolina, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you for reminding us that the greatest victories are not always measured in medals. Very often they are measured in the ability to rise again. Holy Father, this afternoon Madrid has wished to present to you some of its many faces, the faces of those who educate, create, work, research and serve. And now comes the moment we've all been waiting for. The moment to listen to you, to hear a word that will help us continue looking farther and higher. Your Holiness, the floor is yours. Your Eminence, dear friends, it's a pleasure to be with you in this place that not only welcomes sporting, artistic and cultural events, but also the deepest emotions of human beings, joy and admiration, enthusiasm and hope, as well as sadness and frustration. In this beautiful country, it is impossible not to admire the creative spirit that runs through its history and shapes its identity. A beauty that is evident in its cities, in its streets and monuments, in its squares and gardens, in its universities and churches, in its music, painting and dance, and in its cuisine. Here too, here one senses the spirit of the generations who transformed the landscape and gave it a character of its own. And this reveals to us in every detail the intelligence and determination that dwell in the human spirit. After carefully considering these wonders created by previous generations, a question inevitably arises that challenges us all. What legacy are we leaving for the future? And by extension, what kind of community are we building? I have listened intently to each of the panelists' contributions, and I agree with you. Our society does indeed possess an extraordinary capacity to produce, innovate and communicate. However, it seems we still need to learn how to safeguard the soul of what it generates. Otherwise, we run the risk of becoming experts in the media and effective producers, yet uncertain as to why, for what purpose, with whom and for whom we produce. In this context, the Church, mindful of both its successes and its errors throughout history, longs to remain in dialogue with the contemporary world. The desire for goodness, beauty and truth is rooted in the very DNA of humanity. It's on the basis of this profoundly human aspiration and our centuries-old experience that the Church proposes paths towards a life of dignity and the common good. In this regard, St. Paul VI affirmed before the United Nations that whatever one's opinion of the Roman pontiff may be, his mission is well known. As an expert in humanity, the Church does not turn a blind eye to anything truly human.
Por esta razón,
for this reason, openness to dialogue is an integral part of the Church's vocation. Today we confirm that the decisive question remains the same. What does it mean to be truly human? With humility and conviction, the Church shares what she has discovered through the experience of faith. That Jesus Christ provides the answer to the great questions concerning human life and its fulfillment, both in this world and ultimately in eternity. For this reason, the human person always remains the way for the Church and the heart of every authentic path of integral human development. Therefore, the Church cannot turn a blind eye to culture, because through it, man is more fully human. Precisely since culture calls to mind cultivate, just as the etymological roots that both words share suggest, we are rightly called to ask ourselves what it is that we are sowing today, what exactly is flourishing, and what is silently withering in our society. What values are we preserving, and which are we allowing to die? These are profound and necessary questions that cannot be ignored. In order to address these questions, it is necessary to have a social dialogue that can be likened to the art of building networks, which involves coming together, listening, dialogue, respect. In the various spheres of human activity, we must be mindful of the language we use, whether written, spoken, or imagery in the digital realm, because communication is never neutral. Every form of expression speaks and conveys meaning. It can wound or heal, shatter expectations, or open new horizons, sow division, or awaken hope in the possibility of building something genuinely human together. Thus, building networks is a dialogue among institutions which is centered on human dignity. This entails, for example, that the university not ignore the working world nor renounce the truth, that business not view the employee as just another factor in the equation of its interests, that art not be intended solely for the elite, that sports not be reduced to a spectacle or turned into mere business, and that technological progress take into account the elderly, the poor, and those without a voice.
Nuestra aportación al diálogo
From a Christian perspective, our contribution to the dialogue concerning life recognizes that the Creator has woven human beings with threads of love, for they have been created in the image and likeness of God, who is love. Herein lies the foundation of inalienable human dignity, the absolute respect of which is the basis of dialogue. Second, building networks means creating together. Faith, Pope Benedict XVI affirmed, is a love, and therefore creates poetry and music. Faith is joy, therefore it creates beauty. We have all experienced something beautiful, so much so that it changed us from within. A song, a poem, a quiet church, a voice, a glance, or even a basketball game enjoyed with friends. It is no wonder then that the proclamation of the good news and the awareness that we are all brothers and sisters finds expression in the form of a saeta during Holy Week or in mystical poetry. Expression can also be found in the literary genius of authors such as Lope de Vega, Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross, Calderón de la Barca, or in the serene prose of Saint Thomas Aquinas, from whom we have inherited the beautiful hymns of Corpus Christi, which we celebrate today. All of this reveals the bond between the material and the spiritual that constitutes our existence. Third, building networks means to serve selflessly. An objective view reveals that men and women moved by faith have built hospitals and schools, begun initiatives of solidarity, and spoken with a language that adorns people with dignity. For this reason, we would do well to ask ourselves honestly if the world, and Europe in particular, would have forged its identity without that spiritual influence that has permeated its history. This is not meant to be provocative, but rather an invitation to consider whether eternity, which burst into time and space through the incarnation of Jesus Christ, can still be reconciled with everyday life. Is it seriously possible to believe that Europe, which we deeply love, would be the same without the influence of faith? Why should we fear that eternity permeate everyday life? The cry of my predecessors lives on. Do not be afraid. Open wide the doors to Christ. Jesus Christ takes nothing from us and gives us everything. I ask myself, who are the ones being excluded despite their virtues and abilities? We cannot ignore the fact that the condition of the poor is a cry that in the history of humanity constantly challenges our lives, our societies, our political and economic systems, and the Church. Indeed, Christ restores the common good to its rightful place as a wise arbiter who tempers the greed of some and nourishes the hope of others while longing to save them all. This church, an expert in humanity, although at times going against the tide, insists that the economic and institutional structures are just only to the extent that they serve the integral development of the person and promote the responsible participation of all. Finally, let me draw your attention to a world that, as you know, is no stranger to me, the world of sports. Consider how many of us learnt to respect our opponents on the field rather than by listening to a lecture. How many athletes teach us to lose without hatred, to win without humiliating others, or to get back up after falling. Saint John Paul II, as an athlete and pastor, once said, "In these times, when unfortunately various forms of violence and thus of hatred tend to tear apart the fabric of social solidarity, you play your part in offering a shining example of cohesion, peace, and unity. In a word, of knowing how to be together." These words are even more relevant and timely now than when they were first spoken. Dear friends, I invite you then to be new protagonists for weaving new networks that harmonize all areas of life, to weave a renewed society where time is imbued with eternity, culture safeguards memory and fosters dialogue. Education promotes the search for truth with a critical spirit. Art awakens wonder and generates noble emotions. Business recognizes the dignity of the person, and work remains a source of hope. Let us be new protagonists by heeding St. Paul's counsel. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. For all this determines whether in the future of our humanity in all its grandeur will continue to shine forth. Thank you very much. And thus it appears that the meeting, the event, weaving networks with the worlds of art, culture, economy, and sports is coming to an end. Pope Leo XIV has had a full day in Madrid today, his second day in Spain for his Apostolic Journey. And he is receiving the applause and the affection of a huge audience here in the movie star arena. Tomorrow, Monday the 8th, marks Pope Leo's last day in Madrid. And for the first time ever, a Pope will address Spain's Congress and Senate. Before meeting, he will also meet with the bishops and with the diocesan community. Back to the movie star arena. Thank you, Holy Father, for your presence. Thank you for this encounter and for helping us remember that a society truly grows only when no one is left behind.
Esperanzadoras a esa pregunta que usted nos lanza y que nosotros recogemos. ¿Qué herencia dejamos al futuro?
Sí, también con ese reto que mencionaba,
de
tejer redes entre diferentes ámbitos de la sociedad, precisamente para que...
Thank you for reminding us that all the different sectors of society, those who educate, research, create, work, care for others and build community every day are equally part of society, and if they can come together to weave collaboration, they can build community every day.
En este espacio de la búsqueda lo hacemos con una canción de Rosalén que
We're going to listen to the singer Rosalind,
en la búsqueda, incluso en la incertidumbre,
who
puedes encontrarse ese atisbo de esperanza.
Who is going to
Adelante, Rosalén.
Give us a song about hope and the future. Adelante, Rosalind.
Un árbol viejo partido en dos, las puertas a este viaje interior, los senderos tienen forma de serpiente.
The song is entitled And I Searched.
Señales que te pierden, las primeras dudas las lloraba el cielo. Debes enfrentarte sola y no tener miedo. Descargué el exceso de peso, me quedé con el alma en los huesos. Llené de aire el cuerpo y busqué y busqué y busqué hasta la cima. Y no hallé, y no hallé, y no hallé el sentido a mis días. Y busqué, y busqué, y busqué hasta el fin. La respuesta estaba dentro de mí. Ay, 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 ay. Luna plena llena de agua fría, ilumina la noche herida. Como el pájaro muestro atenta mis alas, miro desde arriba, la que arriesga es la que gana. Siempre busco fuera lo que nace dentro, que mis días felices no dependan del deseo ajeno. Aprender a escuchar hallé el sentido a mis días y busqué hasta el fin. La respuesta estaba dentro de mí. La respuesta estaba dentro de mí. Estaba dentro de mí. Gracias.
And we've been listening to Rosalind, who sang the song "And I Searched." She greets Pope Leo, she greets the Archbishop of Madrid, as does her musician, her guitarist, and the person who did the sign language for and now the Pope is preparing to impart his apostolic blessing.
Bueno, pues le damos las gracias a María por esa maravillosa interpretación.
Thank you
Nos acercamos un poco
for
más
the song.
al Santo Padre. Santidad, quería decirle muchas gracias.
Thank you, Holy Father,
Muchas gracias por venir.
for having come to our country, for being here with us today. Thank you.
Gracias por su presencia.
Thank you for your presence.
También gracias a todos los que hoy han estado aquí.
Thank you to all of you who have come, to have collaborated, have made this event possible, and who contribute to building community every day.
Y recuperando el lema de esta visita, Madrid hoy alzar la mirada.
Has sought to lift up its gaze and to do so together.
Más de 12.000 personas, cada una de una punta del país y quizá del mundo, que han querido estar hoy aquí. Y seguramente quieren también contribuir a tejer esas redes que usted mencionaba para alumbrar esos lugares.
Carlos is thanking all those who made this possible, the many thousands of people who have come together to weave a network of collaboration and support.
Seamos todos entonces constructores de esta nueva comunidad.
We are all builders of community.
Bendito sea el nombre del Señor, ahora y por todos los siglos. Nuestro auxilio es el nombre del Señor. La bendición de Dios Todopoderoso, Padre, Hijo y Espíritu Santo, descienda sobre vosotros. Amén. Muchas gracias. Felicidades a todos.
Pope Leo prepares to exit the movie star arena in Madrid, where he has been meeting with representatives of the worlds of the arts, of culture, of the economy and of sports, inviting all these crucial sectors of civil society to continue to work together in the pursuit of the common good and in the building of a peaceful, inclusive society that does not look away from those who are poor, from those who are suffering. As I was mentioning, tomorrow, Monday the 8th, marks the Pope's last day in Madrid. An important day, as for the first time ever, the Pope will address Spain's Congress and Senate. He will then, on Tuesday, depart for Barcelona. And then the final leg of his journey will take him to the Canary Islands, where migration is expected to be the defining theme of the visit. And as we prepare to end this live streamed broadcast of this event at Madrid's movie arena, we invite you to carry on following us on all of our platforms as we provide live coverage of Pope Leo XIV's Apostolic Journey to Spain. And so please visit the Vatican News web portal, Facebook, Instagram, X and YouTube accounts for coverage of all the events during this intense 6-day Apostolic Journey. So on behalf of Vatican Media, I would like to thank our sound engineer, Bruno Orti, our audio coordinator, Father Pavel, and of course our media partners, EWTN TV, Salt and Light TV, Shalom World TV, Atmardashan TV, Catholic TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Radio Maria England, Luminous Radio India, Radio Maria Papua New Guinea, all of whom made this broadcast possible. And thank you to all of you for joining us, and a super huge thank you to all of you joining through our dedicated American Sign Language broadcast, made possible with the help of our friends at Deaf Catholic Youth Initiative for the Americas. I am Linda Bordoni, and it has been a pleasure to provide the English commentary of this event for you. So until next time, Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.